I'd always believed peace wasn't something you stumbled upon, it was something you carved out with your own hands. For me, that peace took the shape of a weathered lakeside cabin I'd had my eye on for years. It wasn't much to look at: chipped paint, a sagging porch, and weeds choking the fence. But to me, it was potentially a quiet promise after years of grinding through the corporate machine and dodging noisy neighbors. I was ready to swap my city apartment for something real. This was it: a secluded lot by a pine-fringed lake, complete with a small dock, a rickety gazebo, and a gravel patch just big enough for my truck and maybe a boat trailer someday. It felt like I'd finally landed. I closed on the property in early spring. My wife, Emily, and I moved in a few days later with little more than a mattress, a toolbox, and the kind of naive grit that makes you think you can rebuild a roof in a weekend. The moment we stepped out of the truck, the scent of pine hit us like a fresh start. Birds sang, the lake gleamed in the distance, and for the first time in years, I could breathe deeply. Then, 3 days in, it started. I was sipping coffee on the porch, mentally mapping out fence posts, when I spotted a crisp white envelope in our mailbox. No stamp, no return address, just an HOA logo and a font that screamed trouble. Curious, I opened it, but the words inside killed my good mood. You are in violation of community parking regulations by placing your vehicle on HOA maintained served YC space. Remove it immediately. My truck was parked exactly where the survey said it belonged, in my gravel patch, well within my lot's boundaries, as confirmed by every deed and plat I'd received at closing. I reread the letter, laughed it off as a mix-up, and figured someone had gotten their wires crossed. My property wasn't part of any HOA. That was a key reason I'd bought it. My realtor had been clear: this parcel stands alone, free of HOA governance. To be neighborly, I called the number on the letter. No answer. I left a polite voicemail explaining who I was and asking for clarification. That evening, Emily and I strolled through the nearby subdivision, Lakeside Pines, to get a feel for the neighbors. We passed a fancy gate, white fences, matching flower beds, and kids zipping around on pricey scooters. It looked like a glossy ad for suburban bliss. Then we saw Herlin DeVos, HOA president, self-anointed ruler of the block, standing at the end of her pristine driveway, arms crossed over a mint green sweater, eyeing us like we'd trespassed on her kingdom. Her stare told me this wasn't a mistake. It was a challenge. The next morning, I skipped coffee, grabbed the survey, deed, and what patience I had left, and headed to the HOA office, a fake brick building that screamed small-town bureaucracy. Inside, the AC was glacial, and the receptionist's smile was as warm as a paper cut. I asked for Linda. "She's expecting you," she said, though I hadn't announced my visit. Moments later, Linda appeared, tall, polished, with a control freak YB wrapped in designer flats. "Mr. Bennett," she purred, "let's discuss your situation." In her pastel-drenched office, I laid out the facts. My lot wasn't part of Lakeside Pines, the gravel patch was mine, and their notice was nonsense. I showed her the survey. She didn't glance at it. "I know it's technically yours," she said, "but that's not the point." I blinked. "Then what is?" Her voice turned syrupy. "That gravel area's been used by our residents for years: guest parking, boat trailers, events. We've maintained it. In spirit, it's community space." I nearly laughed. "In spirit? So, because people parked on my land without permission, it's theirs now?" Her smile tightened. "It'd be a shame if your actions caused tension so soon." It wasn't a request, it was a veiled threat. "Linda," I said, "call it tradition all you want, but this is trespassing. I own this land. I pay taxes on it. No one has a right to it." Her mask slipped for a second before she stood, ending the meeting. As I left, she called out, "Be careful, Mr. Bennett. Newcomers who stir things up sometimes regret it." I didn't reply, but I knew this was just the beginning. 2 days of silence followed, 2 days where I dared to hope she'd backed off. Then, Tuesday morning, I stepped outside to find my truck plastered with orange flyers: notice of violation, parking on HOA utility zone prohibited. Repeat offenses will result in further action. Worse, a heavy chain now blocked my gate, padlocked shut with a tag reading restricted access, HOA maintenance zone. Before I could process it, I heard gravel crunching. 2 men in black polos, Lakeside security stitched on their chests, stood nearby. One was tall, bald, built like a tank. The other, shorter, red-faced, clutched a clipboard. "Morning," I said. "Can I help you?" We're restricting vehicle access to this zone per HOA orders, Baldy said. I pointed at the chain. This is my driveway. You've got 10 seconds to remove it before I call the cops. Redface piped up. This area is community infrastructure. Cease use immediately. I rattled the chain. You're trespassing. Baldy stepped closer. No need to escalate. I snapped. You chained my gate shut. When I reached for the padlock, Baldy grabbed my arm. Instinct took over. I yanked free, shoved him, and he hit the gravel. Redface lunged. I dodged, elbowing him in the gut. He crumpled. Enough. Emily shouted, storming out with her phone. I'm calling the police. The goons froze. Minutes later, sirens wailed, and a sheriff's cruiser screeched up. Officer Martinez stepped out, hand on his holster. Everybody freeze. I raised my hands. I live here. They chained my driveway and attacked me. The goons tried to spin their story, but Martinez wasn't HOA-ing it. On the ground, both of you. Neighbors peeked out as a second cruiser arrived. Then Linda rolled up in her SUV, stepping out like a MOVA star. Officers, this is a misunderstanding, she cooed. Martinez shut her down. Chaining private property and starting a fight isn't a misunderstanding. It's trespassing and battery. Linda got a citation and a warning to stay away. The goons were cuffed. As they drove off, I looked at my broken gate and knew the fight wasn't over. I wasn't just mad he was done playing nice. I hired Sarah Klein, a real estate lawyer with a knack for shredding nonsense. She reviewed my EVY dense surveys, photos, HOA notices, and grinned. Trespass, damage, assault, harassment. We've got them. We sued for damages, a restraining order, legal fees, and a ruling that my land was HOA-free. Linda's side didn't roll over. They countersued, claiming I was disrupting a communal easement with a decade of use. Their EVY denke? A PowerPoint with blurry photos of barbecues and a kid with a balloon near my lot, plus a timeline citing things like 2014, boat trailer parked for a weekend. Sarah laughed. Are they claiming ownership with party pics? Then we found it, a map in their filing, edited to show my gravel patch as HOA property. A forensic analyst confirmed it was Dr. days after I moved in. In court, Linda's team floundered. Their PowerPoint drew a smirk from the judge, who asked, "Is that Comic Sans?" Sarah presented deeds, drone footage, and the forged map. The courtroom went quiet when the forgery was exposed. The judge dismissed their suit, called the map troubling, and set a hearing for HOA sanctions. I walked out victorious, knowing I'd toppled Linda's throne. Linda vanished from HOA notices, ousted in disgrace. An audit uncovered shady spending HOA funds on her patio furniture and landscaping. Her goons? Unlicensed. One was her cousin, the other a church pal. Both got community service cleaning the lake's boat ramp. My wife and I rebuilt Newgate, sunflowers, a camera. Neighbors warmed up, inviting us to barbecues, thanking me for standing firm. The air felt lighter, like the neighborhood could breathe again. To mark the win, we hosted a lakeside party. Half the subdivision showed up burgers, music, kids with sparklers. Someone toasted me as the guy who took down the HOA. It wasn't just a win, it was a new start. Then, one day, Linda appeared with a Tupperware of lemon bars. I'm sorry, she said. I went too far. I took the bars. They better be good. She smiled faintly and left. The bars were great. Maybe the real Tory wasn't just my land, it was a neighborhood finding its way back, one lemon bar at a time.